Welcome, everybody. My name is Andrew Albertson. I am a technical specialist here for the Power Platform in our South OU, accompanied by my great colleague, Chris Simmons, also a technical specialist in the South OU for Power Plat. And today at this Master Series, we're going to be talking about Power Automate and specifically process mining. I'm going to talk to a lot about process mining here today and how also how Copilot comes into that. So I actually think we'll get to see really awesome how Copilot supports process mining, but we can talk about that a little individually as well. And then Chris is going to jump in at the end and talk about some of our license changes that we've seen over the last couple of months here. So looking forward to chatting with you guys. And welcome again to our Power Platform Master Series. I am actually going to go off camera because I talk way too much with my hands, and that is way too distracting. All right, great. So, welcome again. We are really excited to put on these series. We really want these to be an educational series for our customers, and we really want whoever is excited about the Power Platform as we are to jump in here, right? App builders, administrators, people new to the platform, really anybody that wants to hear about awesome new features on the platform. We're going to be doing these once a month going forward. I think last month we heard about how to rapidly build apps. That was also from Chris Simmons. And we're going to be doing those via Teams webinars here. So if you're here, you already know how to get here. And we're going to be just doing our best to educate, right? Like we really want these to be a place where we come in, we show you guys cool new features, new product offerings, all that great stuff, why Power Platform is a great low-code platform. But we also really want this to be geared towards what you guys want to see. So, we come up with new features and stuff like that, but you'll see a QR code at the end and polls along the way so that we can really hone in the topics that you guys want to hear about during these master series. So at the very least, please chime in on those. We want to hear from you guys. We want to make sure we're demonstrating things you want to see. So on to the topics of today. So today we are going to talk about Power Automate and process mining. So this has recently gone through a name change. You guys might have recently seen it as Process Advisor, but just like Microsoft loves to do, we've changed the name and we're now calling that Process Mining. And that includes all the features you saw in Process Advisor before and the cool new stuff we're going to see here today. So before we jump into that, and because we've changed the name, let's actually go back and talk a little bit about how this product came to be. So as you can see, in March of 2022, that's when Microsoft acquired a company called Minit. And you're going to see today, the maturity of that acquisition, right? The product that we're going to call Process Mining here today. But as you can see, that's not a new product as a life cycle since 2022. The great people at Minit had started building this awesome product back in 2013. And there's over 10 years of research and development, 10 years of product innovation, 10 years of working with customers and working with customers, and that's why we decided we wanted to acquire them, right? So there's a lot of history here from this process mining perspective. And we're really excited to get to show, what it's really evolved into here today. So before we jump into that, let's start with our first poll question. And we'll get a little bit of a vibe of everybody's experience with Power Automate as a whole on the Power Platform. So how many years of experience do you have with Power Automate? Is that none? Is that less than 1 to 2 years, 2 to 4 years, more than 4 years? What's your overall experience? And I think there should be a poll coming up. I don't know if I can see it from this point of view. So I'm assuming there's a poll happening. Let me jump back to that screen so I can get an idea of what the responses are coming into. Oops. Clicking here is not fun. All right. And if you're one of the more than 4 people, you probably know it as Flow, as I just saw Chris put in there, right? So originally, this was only called Microsoft Flow, and as it's evolved, we've translated that into Power Automate. You still see some of that terminology in the system, right? We talk about cloud flows and desktop flows, but originally it was only called Flow. So Looks like we got pretty close to most of the responses in here. Looks like the majority of us are 1 to 2 years or less. So, good to get that experience. The product itself is probably, I don't know, probably somewhere around 7 years old. So don't feel like you've missed the boat or anything. We're still innovating, still pumping great stuff into this product. And I'm going to go ahead and move to the next one. And we're going to follow that with one more poll as well. And actually, this is kind of the more important poll for the day. How does your business and your organization identify processes that should be automated? So all of the answers over here on the right, I have been at one point in my career, right? At different jobs, different organizations. One, we work as the business asks of us, right? We're handling stuff from day to day. We're creating automations from there. Two, we have a prioritized backlog. So maybe we're using DevOps or GitHub or Jira to create an IT backlog and work through that. We proactively search and leverage data and analytics, right? So really what we want to get to today with process mining. And then the last one, I have no idea, right? I just build the stuff, somebody tells me what to do, and I jump in there, right? So I've been all of those different answers at some point in my career. And let me jump back over here to the poll, see what we're getting. Let's see. Looks like we're getting a majority is we work on what the business asks for 1 day at a time, right? And that answer is what a lot of customers are at, right? The majority of our poll results here are the top 2 answers. We have a prioritized backlog and we work from day to day on what the business is asking us. What we want to do by using process mining is get us to that answer 3, right? I want to proactively search for and prioritize automations, leveraging data and analytics. And we're going to use process mining to get us there. And the reason we want to use process mining to get us there is we have all these great use cases, right? We want to get to these use cases. We want to find these things that all the other customers in the ecosystem are also finding. But more importantly, we want to find the things that aren't on this list, right? Every business is unique. Every business has those processes that we are trying to analyze, trying to figure out how we can automate all those paper processes, right? Not every business is the same, and we can use a great product like process mining to help us get there, find the automations, prioritize those automations, right? That's really important too. And then be able to run analytics and see that data in front of us. And why that matters, right? Our organizations have changed a lot just in the last 3 years, right? We all have these application backlogs that we're working through, and they're only getting bigger, right? Some of these systems are disconnected. We don't know where to start really with some of these processes, right? Like the business is running, they're critical, but hey, I want to know where to start and which is the most important place to start. We've got also paper processes that are adding to critical business processes, right? We know we need to move from paper, but we need to kind of see that from a holistic point of view so that we can make the choice on which ones are most important, right? We've all got those scenarios in business where, hey, our customer service reps they just get it done, right? Like we don't want to disrupt that process because we're not totally sure how it happens, but it gets done, right? Let's analyze those. Let's track those tasks. Let's see what's happening there. And then, of course, the easy and low-hanging fruit is the collecting and processing of data has a high potential for automation, right? That these 3 things, they all apply to businesses, and we need a product that helps us locate those low-hanging fruit and improves the business right away. So for us, that's Power Automate Process Mining. And that's going to help us visualize end-to-end the blueprint for the actions we need to take. And, actually, I wish I could kind of scratch out that last line, blueprint for actions, because with Copilot, we're actually going to be able to go from a blueprint to actionable insight. Oh, was that a question here? I wanted to pause really quick. Okay. No big deal. So process mining is going to take us so we can get a total blueprint, and then Copilot is going to take us to those actual actions all in the same session, right? And you're going to see that here in a minute. I'm going to walk through some of this great process mining demonstrations. And it's also going to help us answer these questions, right? I've been kind of hinting at those as we've been going through, but how do we stop revenue leakage, right? What are the best way to cut costs? What's my most efficient automation I should take advantage? I can discover 100 new automations, right? But maybe only 3 of those are actually going to give us an ROI in the business. So process mining can help us find the ones that are most important to start working on today. And how it does that is through 2 main functionalities in the product. So one being process mining, and the second is task mining. And process mining is to identify our company-wide bottlenecks. And really what that means is I'm going to take event logs from all my other systems, and I'm going to import those into process mining so I can see them in an analytical and data perspective. And I'm going to walk through all this so you'll see that. But process mining, I'm importing log files from other systems. Task mining, I'm going to record the keystrokes of my individual users and see how they're efficiently or inefficiently running through certain processes. So one example there would be like a contact center, right? I might have 30 people in the contact center. I want to record how they're each doing a specific task so I can see which one of them are doing it efficiently, where we need to apply automations, and where we can improve upon for these, sort of manual tasks that need to be done in the business. And that's not all what task and process mining are going to help us with. They come with great templates, out-of-the-box templates that we, Microsoft, have built that can get you started in your applications, in your task mining, can get you started from, even if we want to analyze your current Power Platform pieces, we'll see those a little bit later, but things like I want to see how my cloud flows are running now, how efficient they are. I want to monitor desktop flows. I want to bring in Power Apps telemetry reports, right? I want to analyze those as well. So we can bring all that great stuff using some pre-built templates in process mining. And then as well as I can connect this to Power BI, right? When I have a Power BI premium license, I can take these great analytics that I'm building on inside of process mining, and I can actually extend those out to the business. So really important piece there. That we can not only be data engineers, but then get these out to reports to the other business units within our company. So with that, let me jump over to a demo environment here, and we will see all the things that we just talked about. So you guys should be seeing my Power Automate environment. Let me expand that out. And all right, here we go. So to get here, right, it's your regular make.powerautomate.com, right? So I'm just on my Power Automate homepage. And just to point out before we get started, right, Copilot right here on the front page. So I can use natural language to get started with Copilot if I wanted to go build a Cloudflow. We're going to see this in action as we're going through our process mining demonstration, but just wanted to point it out before we get started here. As I come down here on the left, I'm going to click on process mining. And that's going to take me to my process mining homepage where I can choose to either start a task mining or a process mining situation. So I'm going to go ahead and click start here. We see some other ones that I've built, which will save us a little bit of time later, so we don't have to wait for the process to run. But for the sake of demonstration, we'll go start here. And this is really my starting point, right? It's giving me a brief description of the difference between process mining and task mining. And really what I choose here is going to determine that. So import data is going to be my process mining. Recordings will be my task mining. So I'm going to give it a name here, test process 20. And I have 2 options for importing data here down below. So the standard and the default is data flows, right? So data flows that you've used hopefully in other parts of the Power Platform to bring data into Power Plat. You can use that here as well. So you use those same connectors to connect out to SAP databases, Oracle databases, SQL. You can use Excel files. We can bring in Dataverse table log files, right? So we can really bring in all the different data sets that we have into process mining using data flow. And if you're using Azure Data Lake, this is a new feature in process mining. We can connect right to our Azure Data Lake storage. So really convenient there, right? So any of the containers you use in Azure Data Lake, you can connect right to your instance from here. Log into your Azure subscription ID, I grab the container and you're bringing that information right into process mining. For the sake of the demonstration today, I'm going to use data flow so we can see some of the other connectors in the background. And so what it did right away when we started is it created the process for me, and now I'm on my connectors page. So it kind of gives me a quick choose your data source here. I can search for one. I'm just going to expand this view more so we can see them all visually here. As you can see, out of the box, lots of different ways in which we can connect to our external data sources to get those log files into process mining, right? I've got Salesforce connectors. I've got my Dataverse. I've got data flows. All of my on-premise main databases that I can connect to. A lot of different options that you can get to here to bring that information in. For the sake of our demonstration, I'm just going to do an Excel workbook because that's the easiest to connect to, obviously. And I'm going to upload a sample file that I have here. Just let me get over here. And this is just a sample AP refunds file. So that's running through my connection, making sure I'm authorized to have access to this document, right? So I might be pulling this into process mining, but that doesn't mean I'm supposed to. So it's running through our security model to make sure you have access. I'm going to hit next. Now it's going to start to present the data that's in my file. So if I click on that over here, I'm going to get a preview of that information that's coming in. And before we jump off this page, I just want to give a little bit of information. We have this little pane over here for needed attributes, and these are the required columns that are needed in your data in order to run process mining. So as you can see, it's case ID, activity, and timestamp. Case ID is identifying each individual person's process that they're walking through. So if we take Aiden, for example, here at case number 1, right, these are all the activity steps that Aiden does, and that's case 1, right? So those individual processes that each resource does, that's a case, and then my activities, steps in there are the individual things I do throughout that process, like invoice entry, I check a customer payment, credit memo, etc. And then from there, just a start time, right? So that's the other required field. So I'm going to hit next. That's going to take me to my Power Query screen here. This should look familiar if any of you guys are used to working in Power BI. This is where I can continue to transform the data a bit if I need to, right? If I needed to change a column type or maybe do some kind of calculation field, maybe I wanted to add a column of some type. This is where I can sort of massage the data to fit and kind of see how I want to analyze that going forward. You have that ability right here to make some additional changes or potentially change a column type, that kind of thing. I'm going to hit next because I don't need to make any changes. And now I'm just making sure that I'm mapping the correct fields, those required fields that I need to get to the next step. So I'm just going to go case ID, activity name, start time, and I'm going to put in a couple others because we have them. I have end time and then my resource name here as well. So now I'm going to hit save and analyze, and process mining is off to the races, right? It's going to go in and create those out of the box KPIs and those visualizations that we want to see this data from. So this is going to take a couple minutes to spin. It should take us to a loading page here in a minute. And when it does that, I will actually jump to an already previously run version of this document so that we don't have to wait on the spinning here. Right, so this is just, hey, this is going to take a couple minutes. Hang tight while we generate these reports. I'm going to jump back to my home page here. And I'm going to open up a previous version of this. So my previously run processes will be right down here. And I'm going to jump into my sample accounts receivable one here. As you can see, that one's still spinning. And this is going to bring up my cloud version of this sample accounts receivable process. So as you can see, as this comes up, a lot of great KPIs that are on the first summary page here, right? I'm getting a map analysis of how those processes run through. I'm getting loop cases, reworked cases. I'm getting different variations in my process, right? So it looks like I have 10 different ways in which people are running this process. 68 of those cases went through variant 1, 35 went through 2, etc., right? I can also see on the variations which ones are taking the most time. I can also click into these. So these maps, these KPIs are responsive, right? They're essentially an embedded Power BI report right here, so they work the same way. So I can slice and dice from here. I have kind of out of the box ways in which I can do that. I've got filters over here as well, where I can filter on fields, right? So a lot of cool stuff that I can slice the report. And then everything you see on the summary is also broken out over here. So I can go into my time analysis here, my map, and my variant DNA as needed, right? To zoom in a little bit more if I needed to see that, maybe see the count on credit memos, etc. But that's not all, right? So this is the cloud version. So this is the quick out of the box thing. But let's say I'm a data engineer or a Power BI expert, and I want to get more in depth with this process. It's not, what comes out of the box here is not enough for me. I can use this button at the top where I can download the process mining app, and that's our desktop app that allows you to take this process. I'm going to hit open because I already have it installed on my machine. If you didn't have it installed, it would ask you to install it. So a pretty quick install process. And then this is coming up on my other screen. And this desktop app is where we're really going to dive in and create our own KPIs, right? Create different visuals that we want to see for these processes. We're not limited to what comes out of the box. The desktop app is a way for you to really expand and intensify the analytics process for your process map here as well. So I got more analytics here on the left, right? I've got a process animation, so I can actually watch how this goes in, right? From a animations perspective, I've got additional statistics on my cases, my counts, all the different variations that are happening there. I can continue to slice and dice, root cause analysis, right? So what are the like creating issues here? My different variants, right? We saw a little bit of that before, my variance map, and then my process compare and not my export, but you can export this if you need. But if I go back to my process map, you can actually see there is, my filters button here. I can start to create filters from scratch, and I can also create KPIs from scratch. So very cool stuff there. I can continue to dig in, but not even the coolest piece of this, right? So as of recently, we have integrated Copilot into our process mining experience. And as you can see, I can see that button right up here in the top right. Why this is really important to customers. Before Copilot was in our process mining application here, still an incredible product, right? I could take these log files, I can analyze them, I can create KPIs, but I really had to be a data engineer, somebody that's really used to diving into data and slicing and dicing. Now with Copilot, I can ask direct questions against the data that I brought in using an AI assistant like Copilot. So once again, Copilot right in here. I'm just going to use one of the examples, like provide the top insights, but it's just analyzing what I brought in, right? So really important stuff there, right? It's telling me, hey, here's your longest activity. Here's the ones that took the most time, right? Really important stuff. And you can you can type directly in here to see those questions that you want to ask against your data. I'm going to say, actually, help me identify these bottlenecks, right? What are the bottlenecks I have in this data? Right here, it's already giving me a feedback of, it looks like, based on the activity statistics table, there's certain things that are taking longer than others, right? So you can start to drill into these bottlenecks. And even more importantly, I can say, help me address these bottlenecks. So why this is great is, let's not do that. Bottlenecks. Oh, I can't type. Start this guy over here. I'm just going to launch this one more time. Get this process mining app up here. And let's refresh our data just once more to make sure that's good to go. Open up our Copilot, and we'll say provide top insights again. get to our bottlenecks. And we'll say address my bottlenecks. Oh, of course. Help me find. All right, so let me create automations. Right, so it's suggesting some flows here. And typically what it's doing is it gives us a button here. I'm not sure what's happening with my Copilot here, but it would actually give us a button that we could use to go and create a cloud flow. But as you can see, what it's giving me here is just the prompt. So I can still take that and go copy and paste that into my Power Automate cloud flow and using the natural language. And I can have this prompt create me a Power Automate flow. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go ahead and just copy and paste this. I'm not sure why these buttons aren't coming up. They usually just come up as a create automate. And as soon as I click that button, it launches a Power Automate flow. But I can jump right back over here, my home page. I can put that prompt right in here. And I can have the describe it to design it feature bring me right to a cloud flow. So typically in that desktop app right there, you'd see a button and it literally just say, go create an automation for me. And it would take me to this page. I'm not sure why that's not working, of course, during my demo here. But this is where it would land you, right? It would actually put your prompt in here for you as well. And then all you're doing is saying submit. So I can either click that button, or as you can see, if I just type that in, I can get the prompt myself and go to my cloud flow here. And once again, you're seeing Copilot in action here. This describe it to design it feature is a Copilot feature. So I'm just taking that prompt, putting it in here. And as you can see, it's already brought in a trigger I need. It's got actions for me, and it's got conditions, right? And I'm going to go ahead and hit next. I'm going to say create flow. And as you can see, it's already got me 90% of the way on this automation that I needed, right? So I went from a log file of data to analyzing that information to generating actions in Copilot. Then Copilot took me to Power Automate for a cloud flow, and I'm already on my way to building that automation, right? So that is extremely impressive from an AI perspective because I went from data to actions in minutes here, right? So from here, right, I could just continue to enhance my cloud flow. I could ask Copilot additional questions, right, if I want to add additional actions. Once again, Copilot right here next with me on my new canvas here, my new Power Automate canvas, and I can get off and running and building a cloud automation pretty quickly. So really impressive stuff there. If I jump back to my automate, the second one down here, it should also be another button that says Power App, but it's also giving me a prompt, right? It's allowing me to copy a prompt here. And then I could go back to here and I could open up my Power Apps, or I could just type it in. I'll just say Power Apps. Right, I can take that same prompt. Oops, I gotta edit that one, not just jump into it. I can open up Copilot in my Power Apps here, and I can do the same thing, right? So once again, taking data to analytics to actions while using Copilot and process mining. Really awesome stuff because the data can tell me how I need to improve some of my apps, not me taking guesses on what I need to do, right? Like if I make this change to this app, it might increase the app's productivity tenfold. So really awesome stuff there. And that's how we use process mining to go data, analytics to actions. So now I'm going to jump back to, actually, maybe I should pause there to see if there's any questions. I think I ran through a lot there, so I'll pause quickly. I'm sure there's questions happening in the chat. Hopefully the team's getting to them. I'll review them when I'm done chatting as well, and we'll narrow in on any answers we can get for you. All right, I'm going to minimize my desktop application here, and I'm going to jump back to I'm going to go ahead and leave this one. I'm just going to come back to my process mining homepage. And I'm going to choose start again, start here, and I'm going to go with a task mining process this time. So I'm going to do recordings. So I'm going to say task 20. I'm going to say continue. So now it created my process in the background, and I'm going to say add recording. And the next prompt you're going to get on this screen, as you can see in the background, is do you have Power Automate Desktop installed? So the reason it's asking you that is the task recorder is just using the recorder from Power Automate Desktop. So that's what it's asking to open. It would do a quick install. If you didn't have that installed, it's free. It installs pretty quickly. And all it's really doing is getting to that recorder that we can use to capture what's happening on a user screen. So I'm going to give that a couple seconds to load up here. And then it's just going to pull up my recorder so I can start that process, right? I can capture a screen here. I can capture the applications that I'm in, the actual typing and clicking that I'm doing. And that's just pulling it up from my other screen here, right? And I've got the pretty simple recorder. So if you guys have ever done desktop flows, it's the same recorder that's in those desktop flows, right? So as I hit record there and I click around on the screen, you'll notice a red box that starts to pop up. Right, it's starting to record the actions of what I enter in here. If I do a new tab and do my make.power apps again, right, you'll start to see those elements get recorded here. I'm going to pause it just so we can see that process wrap up and finish. And it's saving my recording over here. And I'm going to go to view recording. It's just opening up another Automate screen for me and going directly into the details for that recording I created. So when I say view that recording, it takes me into the actual recording here. And this is where you could change the labels on the actual activities in that recording, right? So if I wanted to get a little bit more organized when I'm ready to process all my different recordings that I have, I can do that here. And what's great is you can see it's capturing screenshots on each of those elements that I clicked on. So some of them might be duplicates, right? They might not be all the same thing, but this is where you can come in, you can delete a screenshot, you can change the name, put a description on it, organize your recordings a little bit better. So this is a brand new task recording. I'm going to jump to another one where I have a couple more recordings on it so we can see a little bit more of that information. So I'm going to go back to our main page here. And I'm going to go to this invoice submission process. And this is giving you, once again, your analytics from a task recording purpose. So this is a different one, obviously, than I just created. But as you can see, this task recording was an invoice submission process, also has its variants, also has its KPIs out of the box that you can see with different analysis here. I can see the different ways and the different recordings that are going to that. We'll jump to those details here in a second. But I can see a visualization of that recording. I can see the different variations. And most importantly, I see these blue icons on some of these different steps that I have on these task recordings. And if I click that, actually not the icons, but this button up here, automate activities, once again, taking me from analysis to creating a flow that's going to help me handle those automations, right? So it shot me out to the Cloudflow canvas here again, and it's giving me suggestions on how to attack each one of those activity automations that were in my Cloudflow. So really cool, right? That took me to a place where I'm not trying to recreate the wheel from what I analyzed. It jumps me right to it, and I can take its suggestions right here on how to automate each one of those steps.
Thank you.
Good. How about you?
Don't laugh at me. Have you ever heard of this?
All right, so I'm going to jump back to this other tab. And so this was the analytics page I have for this one task recording. I'm going to click on the name of it here because that gives me back to the details of this actual task. If I want to get back to those analytics, I can hit this button or view analytics. But I want to talk about a couple other things. So as you can see down here, these are the recordings of the individual people that went to that process we just saw. So if we swing back to that example I gave earlier, right, I've got 30 customer service reps. I can capture each one of their individual recordings on how they do a process, and you'll see those recordings here as they contribute to this task mining process that we've created, this invoice submission. Other important details on here is our shared with. So me, the owner, I created this process. I'll be the owner. I can invite other people within my organization to be co-owners, meaning if I wanted Chris to, if we're both going to be analyzing this process, right? Maybe this is a much bigger project than just one person. I can create co-owners, and then contributors you would assign to people who I want to contribute recordings to the process. So that would give them the access to come in here and hit new recording, and then they could record how they do a process. So really cool stuff there. Let me jump back to our process mining page, and I'll talk a little bit about the home page as well. So I'll stop there for any questions. That's kind of the high level of task mining. So any questions there before we jump into the rest of the home page here? All right, we're going to keep moving on. So just a couple of other things I wanted to point out on the screen. Obviously, you have some of your some of the demo templates right here. You can click on these, and it'll actually take you all the way to the reports process. You also have a quick link to download the desktop app, so that's easy to do from here. If I scroll down, here are the templates that I talked about earlier, the out-of-the-box templates that you can take advantage of to begin you on your process mining journey. So these are just a way to kind of sort them from the top. So if I hit Power Plat, right, this is how you can ingest information from desktop flows, virtual agents, Power Apps Insights. You can start right here from these templates. We also have some preview ones for D365. We have Azure options as well. I want to see something in my DevOps, some different options we have there for Logic apps, etc. And then we also have some great templates coming out for SAP here in the future, right? You can see those are in preview. We have a lot of customers ask about SAP data they want to analyze. So we're hearing that, we're taking it in, and we're going to be building out more of these templates as those requests come in. So check out the templates. They're awesome. They're a great place to start. Some of them come with sample data as well. Some of that sample data you can download down here. And that can get you started as well. So you can download some of the sample data that we saw here today, and you can just run through the same process I did to kind of see and spin this up and see how it looks. One other thing I wanted to point out, we talked about these Power Platform templates here as well, right? We have desktop flows, agents, and Power Apps, but I can also go to my flows and check out my cloud flows. And if you find one that has a lot of run history, right? This is my demo environment, so I'm just going to grab one here. I know that has some run history on it. But imagine yours would have different errors and successes, right? I can hit this process mining, improve your flow button over here, and that's going to actually run that Cloudflow's log records through the same process we just went through, right? So it's going to go analyze and give you the out-of-box KPIs to tell you how many runs you got, how many actions, how many are failing, all that good stuff. Mine doesn't have an extreme amount of runs here. Obviously, my graph's a little empty here, but as you can see, you can run your already existing cloud flows through process mining as well and get insights on them right away. Maybe some are failing a lot, maybe some success rates are very low, and give you a way to improve those. Maybe you need to make a change to them as well. All righty, so that's the end of my demonstration there. I'm going to jump back to our slide deck. Pull that up. And once again, you know, this is not something that's been, you know, not a product that we started in 2022, something that has started all the way back in 2023. And the maturity of this product is really starting to reach our customers and the third-party reviewers, right, to recognize us in this motion, right? So we're getting a lot of great accolades from a process mining perspective, our robotic process at 10 all this great stuff, right? I think in 2023, I think we just recently got another one from Everest Group that might not be on here. So a lot of great recognitions that are coming in for the platform. We're really starting to see customers pick it up. And here's a couple of great examples of that, right? We saw, you know, not naming exactly these customers, but, you know, a global telco operator eliminating rework in their systems, right? We've seen customers streamline duplicated processes. That's a very easy one, that low-hanging fruit that we talked about before. And then at the end here, you know, full transparency, right? I hear all the time from customers, I don't know where to start. I know I have like these 10 things I know I need to get done, but where else in the business do I need these automations, right? Where else can I improve upon efficiencies? And that's really where process mining is hitting it home. So with that, I just want to circle back a little bit on Copilot. We saw some of that in action, right? We saw the describe to design it when we brought that prompt over from process mining. But here's just another quick click through to highlight that, right? I can use, when I'm creating cloud flows, I can use the describe it to design it feature to use natural language to create my flows. I think Chris said it awesome last month when he said, what's the best new programming language? That's English, right? Let's just use natural language to create the automations that we want to build within our organizations. And circling back to our Copilot right on the front page, right? I can start from this describe it to design it feature, or I can hit that Copilot page right there on the front, right? I can get us right to our new preview Canvas app, where the new functionalities are coming out. Sorry, the new Canvas designer app. And we see kind of a new look and feel for Power Automate in designing these cloud flows, right? And once again, Copilot right here on my right, I'm asking it questions, I'm making changes to these cloud flows, and it knows the conditions, the actions, everything I'm asking of it. It can also make recommendations, as well as some new look and feel on how we see the formulas being entered in certain conditions, etc. So really great stuff. Let me see if that gets me to the end of my Copilot slides here. And that's going to get me to our final poll question, which is, how many of you have been using Power Automate Copilot? Is this the first time you're seeing it? You didn't know it existed? You've been using it already? Or no, not at all, right? Maybe some of you have already used the describe to design it. Some might have access to that Copilot right on the front page. Let us know, right? We want to hear from you on your experience so far with the Copilot. And with that, I am going to hand it off to Chris Simmons, who's going to have the Power Automate licensing changes up for you guys, and we'll dive into some of those changes we've seen over the last couple months. Chris, do you want me to kind of continue on the slideshow here, or did you plan on hosting it yourself? I'm happy to do either.
I'll go ahead and take it.
Okay.
I was just having that very conversation behind the scenes and a little slow to join back just because I was answering this great question from Charles here in the chat. And I do want to call that out for those that aren't, maybe seeing it. We are maintaining the models for these copilots, for any of the Power Platform Copilot models internally, right? We're updating them and enhancing them based on our own experiences. And then, of course, as new features coming out in the product, right, we have to enhance those models to understand that these are new actions and they can take. So we're doing all of that behind the scenes. We are absolutely in no way, shape, or form using customer data or any of your prompts to train that model. We're very, very passionate about that. We're making sure that we're keeping those up to date. We're kind of feeding the beast on our own. So very, very important question. And thank you, Charles, for bringing that up. Yep. Yeah. You definitely want your data protected. We're passionate about that, right? Okay. So let's have the most exciting conversation you're going to have today. We're going to talk about Power Automate licensing. Woo! Right? The thing that no one gets all excited about. But the good news is that I get to say something today, and I got to say it twice yesterday. It's really exciting. I'm going to get to say it today again. We made this easier, and that's not something I get to say very often. So I'm always really excited to make that statement. Everything changed on August 1st. No significant changes in September. That's why we're seeing the August date here. But that was an important big month for us. We did some really cool things with Power Automate licensing, and so I'm happy to come here and talk to you guys about it. Make sure it's as clear as mud, of course. And I know there's always going to be some follow-up questions. That's totally fine. Throw them in the chat. Reach out to your low-code seller or any of your biz app sellers or on the Microsoft side. We'll get our best people involved to help answer your detailed questions, right? Devil's always in the details. So let's jump right to it. So when I talk about the fact that we simplified things, previous to August 1st, there were 6 different Power Automate SKUs. And I'm not even kidding. There were 6 of them. Now there are 4. We reduced those 6 to 3. and then we added one. So real simple there. And so the two that are most important are the two here on the left, right? So we've got Power Automate Premium. That's your user-based license. So anytime you're talking about users, that's the license to use. It's the only license available anymore, for any of the new things that are coming up, right? I know obviously a lot of customers have some of the old licensing, right? So as your EA renews, or those kind of conversations take place, we can have those adjustments. But right now, the new item is this license, Power Automate Premium, and it does everything, right? It is the Power Automate with attended RPA user license that was formerly $40 list price, is now $15 list price. So not only did we make it easier, we reduced the cost and continued to include all of the benefits that came with that license. And then once your once your solutions move into that production scenario, right, they're supporting a business process or, owned by a service account and running behind the scenes, that's when you're going to step up and use this Power Automate process license. Now, what's really exciting about this process license is that it covers a lot of things with a single license. So if we talk about Cloudflows, for instance, Cloudflows, a lot of you customers have gotten very creative on taking advantage of of the license, right? And taking, and I'm not saying that in a negative way, definitely very in a positive, right? Have gotten very creative on ensuring that you're getting the most value out of our formerly per flow license. But sometimes that led to some questionable choices, right? And we all know it. You may have had multiple parent-child relationships to derive a complex business process, and though it worked, it was not what anybody would have wanted in the best case scenario. And so with this new Power Automate process license, if you have multiple Cloudflows that are all supporting one single business process, you have the opportunity to cover them all with one single license. So a great example is you may have a number of invoices coming into a shared mailbox or a couple of different shared mailboxes to drive, just sending in those invoices, maybe hitting AI Builder to get processed and ultimately, of course, loaded into your ERP solution, or just dropped off into something else so the ERP can pick it up. Whatever that use case is, right? You may have had one flow to run to figure out, okay, which email is this from? What customer might this be? All right, we're going to send it down this path versus that path. And that was just ugly. Now you can have multiple cloud flows that are all watching those same mailboxes separately, independent of each other. They don't have to be tied together in some, Frankenstein parent-child relationship scenario. They can all be very separate. But because they're all supporting that one business process, you can handle that in all in one Power Automate process license. Now, those that may be familiar with the API requests, or what we now call the platform request capacity of 250,000 platform requests within a rolling 24-hour period, that number is still the same. Now, there is a transition period, right? There's some grace period right now as we're transitioning licenses. That's good to think about. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit of a background noise if somebody's off mute. But anyway, so we've got that that capacity that is still the same. So, if you've kind of have the opportunity to re-architect your cloud flows to take advantage of this new structure, just keep that in mind, right? That number really hasn't changed, and so you want to keep an eye on it. So though you may be able to include more cloud flows into that single license, a second license might still be appropriate because of the volume. So just something to think about behind the scenes. Again, the devil's in the details. Please reach out to us, let us know, and we can help kind of work out those kinks. Now, when we talk about the robotic process automation or our desktop flows, right, that comes back to a little bit different story, right? That same license, it used to be you had to get the per flow and the unattended add-on, and it was all based on concurrency, right? It's still kind of the same, but it's all, again, packaged into a single license. So we no longer have to buy two licenses to do unattended. You will have the same need from a concurrency standpoint. So if you already know how many concurrent flows or desktop automations are running simultaneously, and you already bought the right number of unattended add-ons to drive that, that is the exact same number for your Power Automate process license. It covers the same way, it acts the same way, except now we have one license instead of two. So all the desktop flows that are running would be covered by that license. Now, if you only have a couple of VMs, you might just need to buy one or two, maybe three, right? Just depending on, how things are going. But for our customers that are doing this at scale, right? They have hundreds, some many hundreds of VMs to do their desktop automation. That number certainly doesn't need to be that full count, because obviously they're not all running automations simultaneously. So again, the two licenses that are most important, you got your user license and you got your process license. That's it. So yay, much easier. No add-ons or confusion there. So that's the 6 down to 2 effectively. And there's a third one that's special we'll talk about in a minute. And then we added process mining. So Andrew just gave us a fantastic demonstration of all things process mining. That is an official SKU as of 8.1. We're really excited about that. We of course are all about free trials, so feel free to go and check out that product, test it out, see how it works for you, and then when you're ready to move forward, let us know, and we'll get you all set up on that. And of course, these are all list prices, so every organization has their different agreements, so something to think about. But just to let you know that these are our list prices.
Yeah, and Chris, if I can interject there really quickly.
Go for it.
And you might have already mentioned this, so let me know if I'm repeating here. But with the premium license now gets you access to everything you saw today. So you get access to everything process mining from that perspective. It is a limited capacity, so that's why the add-on the end here is there. It's when you start ramping up that process mining that you want to do inside your organization, you'll need these add-ons to increase your capacity. But you don't need, if you have the Power Automate Premium license, you can get started on any of it today.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, very important call out. Thank you, Andrew. So ultimately, when you're going to be running these process mining work and working with it, it's going to be a small subset of individuals. Power Automate Premium's the license you're going to want to use to get that done. And then, as you can also see here, right, as we break down some of those, the entitlements that those licenses give, we actually provide a little bit of, and it's down here, you probably can't see it. It's this tiny little bit here. I'll call it, I'll use the laser pointer right here. This tiny little 50 megabytes of process mining data is provided for the Power Automate Premium license. So visualize and analyze process. So you can see here called out 5 and 6. Number 6 does say we give a tiny amount of Power Automate process mining data capacity with each of those purchases as well. So there's the SKU for the process mining that gives a lot of space, but then of course there's this additional piece even for the user licenses. So any of you guys that are real familiar with our licensing, you've seen that in other ways, but just want to call that out as well, that is an important license that goes and ties with the process mining. So to step back, right, we've got, I didn't want to lie to you, we've got a total of 4 real licenses. The fourth one here is the hosted RPA. If you're not familiar with our hosted RPA offering, that is actually can be a replacement for Power Automate Process when you're doing those desktop automation scenarios. So basically it's the same thing, but instead of you running it on one of your VMs, you're using our Windows 365 opportunity and that capability within Azure, and then we've flattened the VM cost, so you don't pay any additional VM costs. It's 100% covered with this hosted RPA SKU. So you've got the the Power Automate Process license and the VM cost in one single line item at a list price of $215 per bot per month. So really cool feature, really cool offering. There was some confusion about how that was going to work in the beginning. Now we can say, yay, you can just buy that. You don't have to add it on top of something else. So that was a weird clarification for about 30 days. So we're now 100% clear. You've got that $215 a month to cover both your VM cost and the Power Automate licensing. So super cool. And then for those of you that may be aware of the pay-as-you-go opportunity or may have looked into it, this hasn't changed. So, if you've got some automations that are running very infrequently, honestly, if it's once a day or less, Power Automate pay-as-you-go might be the more cost-effective route. So check it out. It's a really cool option, and it ties, that the actual run history to your Azure subscription. So you're paying through it just like you would any other Azure service. So really cool offering. All right, so I've been trying to keep an eye on the chat. It doesn't look like there's any licensing questions, which is a miracle, but I will pause in case there's any burning questions that you're dying to ask. Probably want to throw your hands up. I'm afraid there might be too many questions, but you never know. So pause real quick to see if there's any questions with regards to Power Automate licensing. Now, I don't believe there's zero. That would be shocking. I keep looking over to my side going, what's going on? Include flow run costs. Yes, Debbie. So the idea for the user license is that it is supporting automations that are running for me, right? So if I'm running automations to improve my work, and so they're owned by me, they're run by me, right? That's what the user license is for. The moment they're going to something bigger, again, promoted up to a formal production environment owned by a service account, supporting a business unit or a team, right? In those scenarios, that's where the process license is more appropriate. Yeah, so the 60 cents per flow is that if we have some customers there that haven't bought the user license yet, or even the per flow or process license. So in that same scenario, maybe you have a flow that runs once a day, once a month, a cloud flow, or even once a quarter, right? That's supporting a business unit. Instead of spending $150 a month, you can do it at 60 cents a flow run. Obviously, far more cost effective to use the pay-go structure than it is to buy the $150 license. Great question. Perfect example. Whoa, there they go. All right. The $150 per month includes all the capabilities Power Automate for that one bot and unlimited flows and users. Yes. So it's not unlimited flows, it's unlimited flow runs, but that's where that platform capacity comes in. So if you look up Power Automate, I hate to say the word limits, but that's what it comes up as. There's an article, and I don't know, Andrew, Nico, or Jeff, you can go grab that, or David, grab that link real quick that shows off all of those capacities. So each flow, right, each cloud flow specifically, each action will generate a platform request. So simple example, you've got a Power Automate flow that's got 10 actions in it. For one run, that's 10 platform requests. And so if it runs 100 times, that's 1,000 platform requests. So within that license supports up to 250,000 requests within a rolling 24-hour period. Now, when you hit that 250,001 request, it's not going to slam on the brakes and stop you. There's probably not going to be a ton of issues there. It's when customers that are constantly or regularly exceeding that capacity, or significantly in one times exceeding that capacity, you may experience throttling. And in real extreme scenarios, and I mean really extreme scenarios, the platform might automatically disable that flow. Fun example is prior, these limits were much lower a couple of years ago, or these capacities, excuse me. And one customer was trying to move 70,000 records a day. Under their user license, which the user capacity at the time was about 5,000 API requests within a rolling 24-hour period. Now it's up to 40, but still they were trying to do 70,000 records a day. Which please don't use Power Automate as an ETL tool. That's not right. And B, that is an extreme use of Power Automate cloud flows, and so that flow was effectively shut down. That was the first time I'd ever seen flow do that. So that's one of those scenarios. And so the 150 covers multiple cloud flows, or a single concurrent run of a desktop automation. But you can have many desktop flows, right? If you got one VM and you got 10 different desktop flows running on that one VM, that single $150 license would cover that. So that's really, really cool there. Yes, Debbie, the user license is attended only. When you get into unattended, that's where the Power Automate process or the hosted RPA license would come into play. We've been talking to you guys, Debbie, to your COE team about the hosted RPA. We're not there yet, but conversations are ongoing. Can you explain if any of these changes to Power Automate change anything in the context of the Power Apps? No. Great question, Charles. Nothing about the Power Apps context has changed. So for those that aren't aware, If you have Power Apps licenses, and of course, there's no such thing as a Power App that doesn't have some sort of Power Automate Cloudflow supporting that Power App. So that Power App licensing includes covering those related Power Automate flows that are specifically in context of that app, right? So simple example, I create a record that generates a notification, or I push a button which specifically calls a flow, right? Any of those scenarios where the Cloudflow is directly related to that Power App, that license, the Power App license already covers that Cloudflow, and you're all good. No additional Power Automate license is generally required. Now, again, in that same breath, I have seen scenarios where customers had cloud flows that related to their Power Apps that were extremely high volume, and so they needed the Power Automate processor, previously the per flow license, just because it offered that additional platform request capacity. And so there are those scenarios where it does happen, but that is very much the exception and not so much the rule. Is there a Power Platform overall license? I just want to be able to use any part of it. Debbie, get in line. There's a lot of us here on the Microsoft side that want that, but I just don't see that happening anytime soon. Now, there are rumors and whispers about like a Power Apps and Power Automate license, user license together, but that's like a bundle from that perspective, but nothing official at this time. So coming on. Thank you, Charles. All right, grabbing the limits link. Thank you very much. Let's see. Yep. All right. Yep. Totally awesome. But if you do want them all, you should get a discount. Well, the cool thing is, Debbie, the list price for the Power Apps is $20. The Power Automate's $15. $35 is not too terrible. But then, of course, with the Power Apps licensing, if your organization buys over 2,000, there is an immediate discount bringing that cost down to $12. And of course, as you all know, when we start talking about volumes, we start talking about volume discounts. And so, yeah, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, please reach out. Debbie, we are having those conversations with your organization, I promise you. So stay tuned. But yeah, if anybody else is interested in that, please reach out. We'd be more than happy to talk about that kind of stuff and opportunities to get that pricing in a good spot for you guys. So I thank you so much for the questions. That has been fantastic. I knew they were there. Just somebody had to ask the first, and we go. Anybody want to come off mute and ask a question? There's been some great conversations there in the chat. All right. All right. Jeff, I think we're ready to move on to our next poll question. Jeff and David, right? Yeah, I think we're good. All right. My favorite topic. Who is going to be attending this year's Power Platform Conference? We talked about it last time. We're going to talk about it again. So many exciting things are coming up about that. I'm going to be there. I'm going to show up there I'm actually getting there on Saturday, September 30th, so I can support our governance workshop on Sunday, October 1st. I cannot tell you how excited I am to be a part of that. We've got the top minds of governance that are running that workshop, and I'm just honored I get to be a part of it and come help talk about it. So, we're going to be doing all kinds of stuff there. We are officially 12 days away from the conference start. Very, very cool. Or 11 days, maybe. I can't even remember. So, lots of really cool stuff coming up. They haven't announced, so maybe I shouldn't say this. I don't know. There is supposed to be a big party on Tuesday night, first night of the conference. And looks like there might be some pretty cool entertainment that night. Details are still being worked out. Contracts are still being signed. So more to come there. Keep your eye out. For those of you that attended last year and got to experience that Hova app, excuse me, that is back online officially. So you'll check it out. It's all set up. The conference just showed up this morning, hot off the press news, right? So very, very cool stuff. So yeah, please come join us. There's just going to be a ton of great things going on. We've got some activities set up for Wednesday night as well. So again, feel free to reach out. Oh, and one more thing. There are some individual round tables that are being set up. So any of you that are in the energy industry and want to participate in our energy round table, please reach out to your Biz Apps contacts, your Microsoft contacts. Say, Chris said this thing, I want to go join it. Please reach out to them. Pressure them to make sure you get that information. I want you to be there. I'm going to be there. Some really, really cool people in the industry. Specifically, they're doing amazing things with Power Platform. Are going to be there. For you telecom people, there's also one for that. So again, reach out to your people. If you're going to be at the conference, there's going to be some cool telecom related roundtables as well. So lots of really cool stuff there to share. And again, it's going to be me, you, and thousands of our closest friends. So come join us in Vegas. You can tell I'm a little bit passionate about that. Really fun stuff. Okay, for those who can't attend, will there be any information published on Channel 9? So none of it. It's an in-person only event. Fair question. We get this all the time. So unfortunately not, but all of the content that is being created for the conference will be shared through that app. Now, don't try to go log into the app if you don't have it and you're not registered. Only registrants of the conference will be able to join the app. So there's no sneaking around there. But because of that, we here at Microsoft, of course, are going to gather all of that content because we've got MVPs and partners and all those people that are going to provide some amazing content. So we're going to bring all that together and share that with our customers. So it's just because you won't have it immediately, you will have it soon after. And we're doing a master series immediately after. Now, if I survive 10 days in Vegas, I will be there to help present what we just learned, which I'm sure is going to be a fire hose of information. Yeah, so lots of content to come. Really, really cool stuff. Hey, health and science, life science breakout. That's awesome. Thanks, Caroline. So yeah, really cool stuff. And Jeff has already mentioned the master series one. So yeah, cool stuff coming. Okay. The last poll question, I believe. Maybe we should have flipped this, right? What are other topics you're interested in seeing in our upcoming master series? Now, we know the conference is important, right? No, that's a no-brainer. And we can make up some really cool ideas. But what makes sense to you guys? What is top of mind for you? Again, we're big fans of doing this. We love just presenting this information to you guys. Honestly, it saves all of us a lot of time, right? We can save this. We can record this. We can get the word out to all you guys, and it saves us, we can do this in one 90-minute meeting instead of 91 one-hour meetings, right? So, we love presenting this information to you guys. It really helps get the knowledge out there, lets us have those more detailed conversations as follow-ups. So, it just makes everybody's workday a lot more efficient, and so we're big fans of that. We can't co-pilot a master series yet, but I guarantee you somebody's trying to figure that out. But yeah, what are you thinking, right? What's top of mind for you guys? Looks like co-pilots, shocked face, right? That's the topic that's got everybody excited. So
yeah, really quick, if you have other ideas that aren't one of the options in the poll, just feel free to drop it right in the chat and we'll collect those ideas out of the chat.
Good call, David. Absolutely. Great call. Yeah, this is your time. We're doing this for you guys. We did this last year. We're going to keep doing this. Other areas in the country are doing this. If you want to go into LinkedIn, he's going to laugh at me for this. Look up a gentleman by the name of Anthony Mancuso, Mancuso. He's one of our colleagues in a different area of Microsoft, different region, physical region. And him and his colleagues are doing something very, very similar to that, to this, I should say. So, there's never a bad thing to have multiple people showing the same content. So I told him I'd promote his stuff. So let's get let's share the wealth, right? Let's see what else other folks are talking about. So there's really, really cool things out there. I'll put his name in the chat. And then he's going to laugh at me when I tell him what I did. All right. So again, Power Platform Conference, super cool stuff. Having been there last year, it was just super cool to get around the community. We maxed out at 4,000 participants and registrants last year. We're well past that number now. And so, it's going to be bigger, better, so much more fun. So yeah, come check us out. We're going to do some really cool things. And then, yeah, thanks for being a part of this master series. We have a lot of fun putting this together. The team really comes together to create some cool stuff. And so we love sharing this with you guys. So please sign up. Let us know what you're interested in hearing about, as David called out. If it's not in that list, just tell us. Let your Microsoft people know, hey, that was great. We really need to hear about this stuff, or we want to follow up on that topic, right? Lots of ways to get engaged and let us know. So Jeff, Andrew, David, any final thoughts before we let our friends go here?
No, just thank you guys for your time. Appreciate getting to chat with you today.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, Chris and Andrew, and thanks for everybody that joined. Hopefully you got something of this. The session was recorded, so keep an eye out for an email from me with links to any of the content, along with Andrew and Chris's slides. So thanks again.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Have a
guys.
great day.
Cheers.